My twin sister fell in love with my husband. With the help of my family, she killed me. She mimicked my appearance, settling demurely on my bed, waiting for my husband to join her. My parents also hoped she would share a harmonious and fruitful marriage with my husband, blessed with many children. My husband pushed open the door, and my sister, her face flushed, stepped forward to help him undress. She had no idea that the man standing before her was far more terrifying than she could ever be. I floated in the air, watching Caspian push open the door. His battle armor was stained with blood and dust. 2 months apart, he looked a little thinner, but also more imposing. My sister, Alara Sterling, nervously clutched her dress, then steeled herself and rose from the bed, approaching Caspian. She spoke softly. "My lord, let me help you undress and bathe." Her voice was almost identical to mine. Caspian removed his armor and opened his arms. Alara's face flushed, and her soft, delicate hands reached for his belt. She wasn't naturally fair-skinned, but to match my complexion, she had taken whitening potions daily for 2 years and avoided the sun completely. In the end, she became as fair as I was. Not just my voice and skin, but she had perfectly mimicked my expressions and gestures too. Caspian looked down at her. "Did you change your perfume?" Alara paused, then softly replied, "Yes, my lord." "How do you find this scent?" Caspian frowned. "It's too strong. Not as good as the one you used before. Change it back." Alara quickly said, "Yes, my lord." Caspian turned and walked towards the bath. Alara eagerly followed, joy in her eyes. She hadn't been discovered. Naturally, she was thrilled. I didn't want to go near the bath because I knew what would happen next. Caspian had joined the military at 12 and had served for 13 years. His passion in the bedroom was intense, unlike any other. Though I didn't know if any women had served him during his 2 months away, whenever he returned after several days, it was always more than I could bear. He was never gentle with me, even nonchalantly saying, "Your parents sent you to please me, yet I see little effort from you." Later, Nanny Eliza advised me to be more accommodating, and I followed her words, which made him less brutal. But in truth, it was Alara who was originally meant to marry Caspian. Yet, that year, when Caspian returned to the capital with his army from the northern territories, 5 severed heads hung from his saddle. Though he told the king he had merely encountered and slain bandits along the way, everyone knew those 5 heads represented the 5 prominent families who had brought charges against his family years ago. Our Sterling family was one of them. The Sterling family had bled profusely due to those accusations, and Caspian was naturally out for revenge. So the 5 families offered rare jewels and stunning beauties, hoping to appease his fury. Alara, my sister, was one of those stunning beauties. She feared she would be tortured to death by Caspian and begged our parents not to send her. Our parents doted on her, and ultimately, they made me take Alara's place and marry Caspian. Though Alara and I were twins, a seer had prophesied at our birth that one of us would bring ruin to the Sterling family. So, when I was born quiet and cried little, I was declared the ill-fated twin. They planned to drown me. My mother couldn't bear it and threatened her own life to save mine. I survived but was confined to the deepest, smallest courtyard in the Sterling estate, with only Nanny Eliza to care for me. From then on, outsiders only knew of Alara Sterling, the eldest daughter cherished by the Sterling family, and were unaware of another daughter named Lyra Sterling, who grew like a weed in that tiny, secluded yard. The Sterling family never gave me a name. Lyra was given to me by Nanny Eliza. Nanny Eliza said that on the day she carried me to the small courtyard, the pear blossoms there were in full bloom, the most beautiful she had ever seen. So she named me Lyra. Lyra, a name that sounded so much like farewell in the old tongue. It perfectly foretold my brief life. My soul drifted uncontrollably towards the bath. Caspian was already in the water, leaning against the edge of the tub, enveloped in the rising steam. His body was a map of jagged, crisscrossing old scars. Alara's eyes darted away in fear when she saw them. She was scared. I found it laughable. She hadn't hesitated for a moment when she killed me. I floated to Caspian's side, waving my hand before his eyes. Though I had always been somewhat afraid of him, now I hoped he could sense me, or somehow realize Alara wasn't me. My body was still buried in the Sterling family's garden, being devoured by ants and worms. If he would avenge me, out of respect for our 3 years together, I would be grateful. If he wouldn't, then digging up my body and burning it would also be a kindness. I preferred warm places. I didn't want to lie in darkness forever. Alas, he had no awareness of me. He simply rested with his eyes closed. Alara composed herself, lightly bit her crimson lips, and prepared to enter the bath. Caspian suddenly opened his eyes and looked at her. "Is there something wrong, my lord?" Alara asked. Caspian said, "I heard that while I was away, you returned to the Sterling family home." Alara immediately knelt. "Yes, my lord. My mother was ill, so I went back for a few days. Please forgive me." After hearing Alara's explanation, Caspian said, "Since your mother was ill, returning home is understandable." I froze. Caspian had never spoken such words to me before. On our wedding night, he had said that since my parents had sent me to him, I was his property, and from then on, I could have no self. My life was his, and my death was his. To endure his hardships, to bear his anger. That night, he had gripped my face and coldly said, "Though you are indeed born to inspire pity, do not expect an ounce of it from me." He said it, and he lived by it. In the 3 years of our marriage, beyond our intimate moments, he spoke little to me, let alone allowed me to return home. "Thank you for your mercy, my lord," Alara said softly. then rose and went to Caspian's side, picking up a towel to wipe his body. Suddenly, Caspian's aide's voice came from outside. "My lord, the king summons you urgently." "I understand." Caspian rose and left. Alara stomped her foot, watching Caspian's retreating back, vexed that the king's summons had come at such an inconvenient time. Alara returned to the room, happily spinning a few circles. My former maid, Daisy, entered with tea. "Congratulations, lady. You successfully fooled the lord." Daisy had been sent by the Sterling family 2 years ago, after Nanny Eliza, who raised me, passed away. At the time, I thought my family cared for me, but now I knew it was all part of Alara's plan to replace me. They had been planning my murder for 2 years. Alara pulled Daisy closer. "Smell me." "What do I smell like?" Daisy sniffed carefully. "Miss Alara, besides the pear blossom scent, I don't smell anything else." Alara was still worried. "Really?" But my lord was only near me for a moment and recognized my old sandalwood fragrance. Daisy said, "Perhaps the sandalwood you used before was exceptionally good, and the scent hasn't completely faded. I imagine a few more days of the pear blossom scent will fully mask it." "That makes sense." Alara lit a few more pear blossom incense sticks, then pulled out a voodoo doll and began sticking pins into it. "Forever damned to hell, with no reincarnation." My name, Lyra Sterling, was written on the doll. After a while of poking, she spoke to the doll. "Oh, little sister, don't feel so unlucky. You had my lord for 3 whole years. When I saw him just now, he truly looked like a warrior god. So much better than that bookworm father and mother found for me. No, he's better than any man in the whole world." She twisted the doll's head. "You should be thanking me, actually. If it weren't for me, how else would you have married my lord, enjoying his person, his glory, his wealth? Now it's all just returning to its rightful owner." Once, she feared Caspian and made me take her place. Later, when she saw that I had lived perfectly well by Caspian's side for a year and that he was steadily rising in power within the court, she became infatuated again. She couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, like she was possessed. "Daisy, how often did my lord sleep with Lyra?" Alara asked again. Daisy replied, "My lord, unless he was on official duties or away on travels, almost always stayed in Lyra's chambers when he was at the estate." Alara glared at Daisy. "So what?" Clearly, my lord only used her to pass the time. It's late at night, but Caspian still hadn't returned. Alara was tired, telling Daisy to wake her when he arrived. I floated out of the room and sat on the rooftop, looking towards the king's palace. A few days ago, I heard the king was gravely ill. Caspian being summoned to the palace now meant he was likely being entrusted with a mission in this critical time. Once he was second only to the king, above all others, I wondered if he would then make a move against the Sterling family. In recent years, he had already been restless. The Sterling family and the other 4 families thought offering mountains of treasures and beautiful women would make him forget the past. But how could such things compare to the hatred in his heart? The day I returned to the Sterling family home, I had intended to warn them of Caspian's intentions. But before I could even open my mouth, they poisoned me. The sun was about to rise, and I had to hurry back into the room. I was a ghost. I feared the sunlight. My favorite sunlight. Caspian returned at noon. Alara had prepared a table full of delicious dishes, waiting for him. I lingered weakly in a corner. I was hungry too. In 2 weeks before I died, I could barely eat. Every bite I took, my stomach rebelled. Then, at the Sterling family house, before I could even taste a meal, I drank the poisoned wine Alara handed me. So, I was practically a starved ghost. Alara, anxious from waiting for Caspian these past few days, hadn't eaten much either. Now that Caspian was by her side, her appetite improved. Caspian, however, did not pick up his fork. Instead, he watched her, his gaze scrutinizing, his fingers idly drumming, a habitual gesture when he was thinking. Had he noticed something? "Why aren't you eating, my lord?" Alara asked. Caspian didn't answer directly, but said, "You seem to have a good appetite." Alara immediately realized her mistake. She should have been imitating my quiet, docile demeanor. She put down her fork, lowering her head. "Please forgive my unladylike behavior, my lord." Caspian then added, "I heard you were unwell last month. The palace doctor will arrive at noon to examine you." A flicker of panic crossed Alara's eyes.